other people I might
Yeah,
not be friends with,
Hmm.
will see
totally.
rebuttals and think, oh, yeah, that actually does make sense.
And
Um,
people who are in their own bubbles, sometimes it's helpful to remind them that we actually exist
yeah.
and
Yeah.
that we are actually like humans and don't have like horns on our heads. And we're like, I'm just a regular mom in my regular mom jeans with my regular mom minivan. Like, I'm not that exciting. And
And we're also real Americans, like
right.
Yeah.
just as
And
much
I'm,
Americans as they are.
and I know, Sophie, you also consider yourself part of the Christian left. I do too. I'm like, yeah, I am a church going every Sunday. I am a, you know, Bible thumping, boring liberal hippie.
Hmm.
And I can, I can go toe to toe with you on verse if you want, or you can just be better.
And not back, right?
Generally speaking, I find that people who try and use the Bible to be hateful usually aren't very good at interpreting it. I tend
Yeah,
to
that's a
find I tend to find their readings to be lacking in any sort of sense of the text as a whole.
Hmm.
Like,
yeah, we call them
I don't
clobber
have,
verses. If you
yeah,
just pull out verses to attack people with them, they're clobber verses, which they're and usually clobber verses when you put them back in context are like not even what it's like not even close to what that said. Like
Sometimes
that's
they're
not what
actually
they
the
meant.
opposite of what they're
Right.
trying.
Right. It was like an ironic statement. And you're like, no, that's not all right.
Well,
yes.
never fear,
That's not
listeners.
what I was
We have a whole episode on religion and politics, at least one episode, definitely coming up in the near future.
Hmm.
My one final thought is that at one point in the book, Hillary's talking about why she wanted to run for president, despite all the, she knew it was going to take away from time with her granddaughter and, it was going to be hard and people were going to sling mud. And she says the reason she wanted to be president is because it was the opportunity to do the most good she would ever be able to do. And if you can hear that and still think hateful thoughts about Hillary, then I feel sorry for you.
Well, I think that does it for our show. You can contact us. You can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter at Two Broads Talk. That's TWO, Two Broads Talk.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you can also email us. Email us your comments, your questions. If you say something particularly astute, we might even read your comment on the air. Our email address is Two Broads Talking Politics. That's TWO Broads Talking Politics at gmail.com.
Yes, and also, if you could, please go on iTunes and find us, Two Broads Talking Politics on iTunes, and give us a star rating. It would really help people who aren't already our friends and family find us. That would be great. Megan, you want to give us your Twitter handle?
Yeah, I'm Megan Romer, MEGANROMER, and that's it. Find me.
And astute listeners will notice that we do not have commercials at the beginning and end of this podcast. Uh, a listener pointed out that there was a commercial for hunting supplies at the end of our last podcast, which obviously is not in our demographic and is not something we support. So we have set up a Patreon page. If you're able to give just a little bit of money, like $1 a month or something, it would be extremely helpful so that we can continue to host without commercials. And we want to give a huge, huge shout out to our one patron so far, whose name is Anne Libby. And if you could also support Anne's work, she also has a Patreon page. I'm just going to read a little thing of what she does. She says, if you've been seeking out stories that celebrate the magic in the everyday, that celebrate knitting, spinning, and handwork, and that admit that detailed tasks contribute to the smooth running of a household, you'll love my stories. I think not a small number of our listeners probably enjoy knitting at the very least. So, Anne Libby, if you could check out her Patreon page and her stories, she is a supporter of ours, and so we want to support her as well. Also, if you own or run a small business or Etsy page and would like to advertise and do not sell hunting supplies and would like to advertise on our podcast, we will give you very, 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 very good rates. So feel free to email us and we will be happy to talk to you about that.
No Etsy pages with knitted hunting vests or anything like that?
Oh, I don't know where I would fall on that, but as long as they're not like pro-Trump knitting. Anyway, contact us. We'll talk. We also have an episode coming up soon about craftivism. I recently got to meet Jana Zwyman, who is the creator of the Welcome Blanket Project and was a co-founder of the Pussy Hat Project. And so I'm even more excited about craftivism now. So if you have thoughts on that or want to be a guest on that episode, contact us about that as well. All right. That's a lot of talking.
See you next week.
Yes. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Esther.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me.
Our theme music is called Sweeter Vermouth and was composed by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. It is licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. Our logo was created by Matthew Weflin, expressly for Two Broads Talking Politics, and is copyright 2017. You can contact us at twobroadstalkingpolitics@gmail.com or at twobroadstalk on Twitter. Our podcast can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and TuneIn. Please let us know if you have any trouble finding us.